So Cork 125, Dublin 22 points. Dublin have been beaten 6 points by Cork at Semple Stadium in round one of the All-Ireland Hurling Championship qualifiers. Yeah, look, listen, as a Dublin fan, I'm obviously massively disappointed, for us to lose in that manner to Cork. Very disappointing stuff from Dublin tonight. We didn't play as good as I think we can. I thought it was very one-dimensional in many ways from Dublin tonight. It was very basic. It was hitting the ball up to Eamon Dillon and Ronan Hayes, relying on them to try and get us scores. We didn't really adapt. We didn't try and change our way of playing. And we couldn't deal with the likes of, Robbie O'Flynn and Seamus Harnedy and Patrick Horgan, who probably didn't even have his best game on the day. He was actually fairly quiet. Owen O'Donnell actually done a good job on him. But in the end, unfortunately, Dublin do get beat by 6 points. It probably could have been more, well and truly. But in the end, Dublin have been beaten. And yeah, let's get straight into it. What's going on, everyone? It's Aaron here from GA Fan TV, and this is my reaction, my thoughts after Dublin have been beaten by Cork by 6 points in the All-Ireland Hurling Championship. Of course, as always, first of all, what we will do is have a look at the teams that took to the field today, of course, at Semple Stadium. So we'll have a look at the Dublin side here, first of all. So in goal was Alan Nolan, Paddy Smith, Owen O'Donnell, James Madden, of course, made up the full-back line. Conor Burke, Dara Gray and Cian O'Callaghan making up the half-back line. Of course, in the midfield, it was Sean Moran and Rian McBride. Of course, though, Jamie Malone did come in for Sean Moran there in midfield. Cian Boland, Chris Crummy, Danny Sutcliffe making up the half-forward line. Donald Burke, Ronan Hayes and Eamon Dillon, of course, making up the full-forward line. Of course, for the Cork side, there was no changes in here to the team that was named. So Anthony Nash in goal. You've got Damien Cahalan, Colm Spillane and Sean O'Donoghue in the full-back line. You've got Tim O'Mahony, Robert Downey and Mark Coleman in the half-back line. Bill Cooper and Luke Meade in midfield. And then, of course, in the half-forward line, Seamus Harnedy, Shane Kingston and Robbie O'Flynn. And then, of course, in a full forward, you have Jack O'Connor, Declan Dalton and, of course, Patrick Horgan. And, yeah, I suppose what we'll do is we'll run through some of the scores on the day. So, Danny Sutcliffe hit 4 for Dublin in this game. Donald Burke hit 10 points. Seamus Harnedy hitting 5 for Cork. Of course, Patrick Horgan hitting 8 for Cork. But interestingly enough, all of Cork's forward line, all 6 forwards, all scored in this game. And even in the midfield, the likes of Luke Meade getting in on the score sheet as well. And yeah, look, listen, I think what won this game for Cork was their work rate, their unity, their strength. They worked way harder than Dublin. They were getting so many blocks in, so many tackles. They were winning the ball in the midfield time and time again. And in particular in defence, the likes of Mark Coleman and Sean O'Donoghue, I thought, done a tremendous job on Dublin's forward line. Because obviously, Eamon Dillon had a fantastic game when he came off the bench against Kilkenny last week. He made a massive difference, and Kilkenny couldn't get to grips with him. They couldn't live with his strength, his points taken. Everything about Eamon Dillon in that full forward line was tremendous last week. Unfortunately, today, though, he had a really quiet game, from his standards. I have it down. I'm not even too sure he scored in this game, from what I can see here. So that's quite extraordinary, really, from a player of his standard. And, I think one of the main reasons why he didn't score was because the ball obviously was looped in time and time again from the likes of Conor Burke, from the likes of Owen O'Donnell, and the likes of Sean O'Donoghue, who was marking him, was able to take him out of the game. Mark Coleman, of course, as well. Mark and Sean doubled up on Eamon Dillon time and time again, and Eamon just didn't have the space to turn his man to get points away, and Dublin were losing possession in that final third of the pitch time and time again. Cork were just fantastic at keeping the ball. They were brilliant in the midfield. Their forward line was tremendous. Declan Dalton, who came in, I believe, for his championship debut. What a performance it was from him, scoring 1-1. You look at Robbie O'Flynn, tremendous as well. And of course, obviously, Cork came straight out the blocks here. You can tell, obviously, Kieran Kingston, their manager, he laid into this team probably after that Waterford defeat. A lot of people really questioning Cork, really questioning whether they have what it takes to be a top team in hurling anymore. And they've proved it tonight. Now, look, listen, obviously, we'll talk a bit more about Dublin as we go on here. I think Dublin, for me, we've seen tonight that unfortunately Dublin are just not at the level that we would like them to be in hurling. They're not at the level of the other 5 teams in Munster. They're not on the level of Kilkenny, Galway or Wexford. And unfortunately Dublin, we've seen tonight, are just that bit behind. But Cork, for me, still have a lot of things to prove, in my opinion, when they come up against the top teams. If they play a Tipperary, a Wexford, or even a Clare maybe in the next round of the qualifiers. How will they do in that game? That will be the real question. But certainly, what impressed me the most from Cork in this game was most certainly the fact that I always feel like there's sometimes with Cork, there's a bit of an over-reliance on Cork's Patrick Horgan. You know, Patrick Horgan is normally the man who carries this Cork team. You look at his performance against Kilkenny last year, you look at his performances in general, there's always a star individual performance from Patrick Horgan, and I don't think they get enough from their other forwards. But today they did. You know, Robbie O'Flynn coming in, fantastic, hitting 5 points. Declan Dalton, as I said, Seamus Harnedy, even Jack O'Connor, although he only scored 1 point, and that was, you know, he was the last of the 6 forwards to score. He was outstanding, you know, as well, without doubt. And, you know, I think in general, Dublin defensively were very poor. We struggled with that forward line. You know, Jack O'Connor obviously with a great run into the open space, into the half forward line, and obviously he picked out Declan Dalton for the goal. Had his first shot stopped by Alan Nolan, but of course the ball fell to him on the rebound and he was able to slot it home. And, you know, interesting enough, Cork hit 1-6 in the opening 12 minutes, and all of it was from play, which I found very interesting indeed. And, you know, without doubt, Dublin were just very poor in defence. You know, they didn't play the sweeper in the first half in the game against Kilkenny. They did play the sweeper in the second half. Conor Burke came in, and that was one of the reasons why Dublin were able to turn the tide in that game. In this game, they didn't, though. You know, they didn't play the sweeper again, and, you know, Cork were just allowed far too much space. There was so much space in that half-back line, and Cork were just taking Dublin to town in many ways. And in many ways, Cork could have been out of sight in that first half without doubt. You know, the long balls into Dillon, he was on the edge of the square, wasn't looking quite good at all. And Danny Sutcliffe, to be fair for Dublin, I thought he had quite a bright game. You know, he looked more like the Danny Sutcliffe we know. I didn't think he was that great versus Kilkenny or against Laois. Thought he was great in this game. And yeah, you know, Dublin's short game at times, breaking down. And it just wasn't working at all for Dublin. You know, in the second half, obviously, you know, you were thinking, are we going to see a bit more of a resurgence from Dublin? But we didn't get it. You know, Sutcliffe had that early chance in the second half, and it was a great save by Anthony Nash. And, you know, Chris Crummy, for example, you know, he didn't get his first point until the 42nd minute. He swapped with Ronan Hayes, so he was able to win a bit more ball higher up the field and contribute a bit more. And I think he scored 2 points in the end. But the fact it took 42 minutes for Dublin to do this was very disappointing. Cork were getting a lot of blocks on Dublin's shots. Dublin didn't even hit too many wides in this game. It was just the fact that Cork's relentless defence and the fact that Dublin were just very poor at creating opportunities. They didn't use the space, they didn't create space, and Cork were able to, you know, manage defensively very comfortably with the likes of Mark Coleman and Sean O'Donoghue, who of course, you know, were fantastic for Cork in this game. Obviously, you know, the likes of Comp Spillane, great job. Damien Cahalan as well was fantastic. You know, all the defence really in Cork had a very tremendous game. Still, we'll have a lot of work to do, without doubt, for the next game. As I said before, it's not going to be easy. For Dublin, as I said before, you know, we ran out of options going into the closing stages. You know, we brought on the likes of Mark Schutte and Liam Rush and Conal Keeney, and, you know, you could tell at that point when we started bringing all those players on, although they are, you know, quality players without doubt, unfortunately, you know, a lot of those players are probably past their prime in many ways, and, you know, it's Conal Keeney's 20th championship in a row, which is quite incredible. It would have been nice to see him score, just for the fact that, you know, it would have been 20 championships in a row, or I think it's 9. So he made his debut in 2001, I think, so maybe 19 championships in a row. But yeah, look, listen, you know, it is what it is for Dublin. You know, I think we've seen here that Dublin are not at the top table in hurling. I don't think that's a surprise. You know, I'm not surprised by that. But I did think we would have had a chance today, and I think, you know, when you look at the effort and commitment that Laois put up against Clare, it is quite disappointing that Dublin couldn't do the same here against Cork. You know, Dublin were trailing by 6 at half time. It went to 7, 8, 9 points. It was 10 points at one stage. We brought it back down to 6, but well and truly, we never really looked like we were going to catch this Cork team. We never looked like we were going to turn it around. And in the end, a comfortable victory for Cork. And yeah, lads, look, listen, I am going to wrap this up here. Do let me know down in the comments below what you thought of the game. Very disappointing from a Dublin point of view, but look, listen, you know, I'm sure the Dublin players and management and Matty Kenny will certainly look to rectify that next year. Perhaps playing 3 games back to back, this Dublin side and all hurling teams, and obviously the championship's completely different this year, so I think that might have had an effect on Dublin as well. But I don't think you can use that as an excuse. Cork played Waterford last weekend in a very intense game, so it is what it is. Unfortunately, Dublin ran out of steam and Cork get the victory, well deserved in the end. And yeah, I'm going to wrap this up here. Do leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. My name is Aaron, and I'll catch you in the next one.